Hello, and thank you for joining the 2021 SmartPay Training Forum and the Travel Management Essentials course. My name is Cassandra Trotter, and I am a business management specialist with the Center for Charge Card Management. I am the newest member to CCM and have been here about 5 months. I have been with GSA for 33 years, and I have a long history with charge cards as a cardholder, approving official, and program manager. I started my career in GSA Finance, then on to PBS for a few years before moving to OAS, the Office of Administrative Services. And I was a charge card AOPC, and now I report to CCCM. Now that I've shared a little about myself, let's get to the training. Over the years, one form or another of this course has been given since the beginning of SmartPay 1. The course has changed some, but at its core is a foundation of running your GSA SmartPay travel card program. The course focuses on the basics of program management, the GSA master contract, legislation that impacts the travel card, and some key players involved. We're going to take a high-level look at the entire travel card program. This slide and numbers represent the overall picture of the travel card program. These are the numbers for fiscal year 20. If we were to take a look at past years, you would see that the travel card program represents a healthy portion of the program transactions and numbers of accounts. The travel card spend cannot be dismissed, but you can see that it just doesn't compare to the purchase card program. If we were to compare the fiscal year 19 to the fiscal year 20 spend, you will see a significant decrease due to COVID-19 and the travel restrictions that are still in place. You can see there is a significant impact to all involved in the travel field, and agencies are seeing less in travel refunds because of these things. We will probably continue to see these trends for a while, as agencies will start lifting some of their restrictions and more people start traveling again. The travel card program and legislation are closely tied. We're going to spend a little time on legislation that affects the travel card program. First, I'd like to talk about a local travel policy. Local travel is considered official travel when the individual is performing official duties in and around the area of the permit duty station. We hear sometimes that the FTR doesn't address local travel. This is because local travel isn't considered official government travel. The GSA SmartPay 3 contract takes this into consideration and added language to ensure the use of the travel card is possible for local travel, provided that your agency policy allows for that. Many agencies have created policies that allow the travel card to be used for local travel, and DoD being one of the first to allow the travel card to be used in this capacity. Some key areas for review can be found in the Federal Travel Regulation for civilian employees, the Joint Travel Regulations for DoD civilian employees, and the Foreign Affairs Manual, Volume 4, Chapter 460, or the Foreign Affairs Manual, Volume 14, Chapter 500, for foreign services in U.S. Department of State. Now we're going to talk about OMB A123 Appendix B. Updates to the circular have been made through the Interagency Work Group of AOPCs, or Agency Organizational Program Coordinators, and GSA's Center for Charge Card Management. The OMB circular was updated in August of 2019. Some of the key updates for the travel card program that were included in the circular update are a breakout of travel card specific internal controls and additional internal control suggestions through things like data mining, data analysis, and business case analysis. In addition, the chapter on training was also updated to provide more specific training information for cardholders, program managers, and approvers. Before, the training requirements were all kind of lumped together, and it was a little confusing. This update gave us an opportunity to treat each business line and its stakeholders separately so the training requirements are clearly outlined and applicable. GSA will begin taking over the statistical reporting process for agencies by reporting the information directly to OMB on an annual basis. This alleviates a burden from agencies on having to report this information to OMB quarterly for CFO agencies and annually for all other agencies. Agencies will still need to provide a narrative report to OMB annually on or before January 31st of each year. Many of the circular updates were made to include elements of Public Law 112-194, Charge Card Abuse Prevention Act, which affects the travel business line and more so than the purchase business line. Now we're going to talk about some memos that go along with the travel card program. Memorandum 13-21 provides supplemental guidance for implementing Public Law 112-194, which some of you may remember as the Charge Card Abuse Prevention Act. With respect to the travel card program, the memo points out the following aspects of Public Law 112-194 for travel card program managers. To prevent an individual from being reimbursed for a bill already paid by the government and ensuring that agency officials who approve or settle official travel verify that charges paid by the government to the bank are not also reimbursed to an employee or an employee's individually billed account. The law and memorandum also go into further discussion on preventing the government from spending money on unused tickets, and they are doing that by verifying that the agency's travel card management center service or commercial travel offices submit requests to servicing common carriers for refunds on fully or partially unused tickets, and they're responsible for tracking the status of these tickets to ensure a resolution. The Charge Card Abuse Prevention Act was passed a few years ago. The purpose of this law is to strengthen internal controls around the card program. The law calls for risk assessments to be determined and performed by agency IGs. It also includes violations reporting for purchase card programs. The violations reporting is not required for travel or fleet card at this time. OMB, in accordance with GSA's Center for Charge Card Management, developed Memorandum 31-21 to help agencies implement Public Law 112-194. When the circular revision was issued in August of 2019, it now contains much of the same language found in the law for consistency and demonstrates the importance of managing your agency card program efficiently and effectively. As mentioned before, IGs will conduct periodic risk assessments of agency travel card programs so they can analyze the risk of illegal, improper, or erroneous purchases. All executive departments and agencies are required to implement the Charge Card Act's required internal controls for travel card accounts. Much of what is found in Public Law 112-194 is now found in the updated circular language. Public Law 105-264 has been in place since GSA SmartPay 1, and I'm sure many of you are probably familiar with it. This law mandates the use of the government charge card when paying for travel or travel-related expenses. There are some exceptions to the law which can be found in the federal travel regulations, but just to be honest, they are very limited. Some agencies have policies in place that require the use of the travel card when individuals travel 3 or more times a year, while some other agencies mandate that the employees traveling even once or more a year need a travel card. The head of your agency or his or her designee has the authority to grant exemptions with the mandatory use of the government contractor issued travel card charge card. But again, they are limited. Use of the travel card does help agencies to earn refunds, so it should be encouraged for anyone traveling in accordance with your agency policies. Now let's talk about the NDAA title, Fiscal Year 18 National Defense Authorization Act. And it's also known as Public Law 115-91, saving federal dollars through better use of government purchase and travel cards. In this time, we're going to just pay specific attention to the reporting requirements and Section 1806. This section references reporting requirements. It requires each agency to report their activities toward implementing the requirements of the title to OMB. Section 1806C requires OMB to summarize and consolidate the information and submit the report to the Committee on Homeland Security, Governmental Affairs of the Senate, and the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform of the House of Representatives. This title addresses these three primary issues for travel cards. The first one is how the agency is expanding the use of data analytics. Secondly, what the agency has done to improve information sharing. And finally, how improper payments have been addressed by the agency. GSA is assisting agencies with these endeavors and working with OMB to form and co-chair an interagency data management group. And in January of 2020, GSA provided a summary of reports that the agency submitted to OMB for review and comment. This summary report was the basis for the report to the House and Senate committees per the law. Overall, the report shows that agencies are working together to share information and expand the use of data analytics through the data management group, training, and this SmartPay forum. Agencies are also addressing improper payments through training and program oversight. This SmartPay forum is just one example of agencies working together in person and virtually with the banks to address improper payments. Public Law 115-34, Modernizing Government Travel Act, was enacted in May 16th of 2017. This is the last law I wanted to go over with, and it was passed, like I said, a few years ago, and requires agencies to report information on travel and transportation expenditures, relocation, and the number of government travel trips that agencies take each year. This law also paved the way for travelers to get reimbursed from TMCs like Uber and Lyft. Now that we've discussed some of the laws and regulations that play a part of the travel card program, let's take a look at the types of GSA SmartPay travel cards. The most common type of GSA travel card is the individually billed account, or IBA. These accounts are requested by the program manager or an AOPC for the individual traveler. The individual traveler is liable for any charges on the card and is responsible for paying the monthly billing statement in full. The government will reimburse the traveler for authorized travel expenses only. The card should only be used for official government travel expenses or local travel when your agency allows for the use of it for local travel. The GSA SmartPay travel program provides account holders a means to pay for all travel and travel-related expenses. Additionally, the GSA SmartPay program is the primary mechanism used to purchase airline, rail, and bus tickets at significantly reduced fares under the GSA City Pairs program. First, we're going to talk about the IBAs, or individually billed accounts. IBAs are the most common travel accounts issued directly to the employees by the customer agency or organization and to be used to pay for official travel and travel-related expenses. IBAs may only be issued to federal employees or employees of tribes or tribal organizations. They are established by the bank at the request of the program coordinator for the individual travel. Cardholders are also responsible for making payments to the bank in full by the statement due date. account holders are directly responsible for all purchases charged to the IBA account. There are actually two types of IBA accounts. One is a standard card and the other is a restricted card. Your standard card requires a minimum credit score of 660. Restricted cards are used to individuals whose credit score is below 660 or if the credit check was declined. These cards have lower limits and may not have cash advance options. Split disbursement provides for payments to be made by the agency on behalf of the cardholder at the direction of the cardholder in accordance with agency policy. The disbursement is split between the bank and the cardholder. So the bank receives a direct payment by the agency, and the cardholder receives their specific claimed amount after filing a voucher. Large ticket items such as common carrier, hotel, rental car are commonly paid directly to the bank on behalf of the cardholder, while other disbursements are paid to the employee. Some agencies use centrally billed accounts for large ticket items like common carriers. It just really is dependent on your agency policy. I know at GSA, our airline tickets go to the centrally billed account and the other expenses going to the IBA travel card. Split disbursement is an effective tool to reduce delinquency, and in turn, it helps with higher refunds to the agencies. It does require some coordination with the bank so that the proper payments are made by the government and properly posted to the cardholder's account. If your agency has not implemented split disbursement, you would need to pilot test. You would need to have a pilot test to make sure that the process is working before you can roll it out or implement it with your agency and your travelers. But you can work with your servicing bank for more information on that. Now let's talk a little bit about the centrally billed accounts, or CBAs. CBAs are accounts that may or they may not have plastic associated with them. Some of the accounts have card numbers but no plastic, and they're used for higher dollar travel transactions like airline tickets or train tickets. Again, at GSA, we do not use our individually billed accounts for airline tickets. They're paid for on a centrally billed account. With the CBA, the government holds the liability, and the government pays the bank directly for those charges that are placed on the CBA. And only authorized travel expenses may be placed on a CBA just like the IBA. You should really never be putting anything that is not related to authorized travel on either card. A new card item that has come up under SmartPay 3 is the Tax Advantage card. The intent of this card is to maximize tax exemption status of CBAs like lodging and rental cars. The card actually features both CBA and IBA functionality, and it was created to function similar to an integrated card, if any of you know about integrated cards. Instead of multiple business lines like travel and purchase on one card, it's only used for travel-related expenses. The CBA portion of the card will allow for tax exemption at the point of sale because the hotel and rental car charges are diverted and paid for directly by the agency. And this is similar to the standard CBA account. Other charges such as meals and incidentals, they still remain for the individual to voucher for and seek reimbursement from the agency, while in turn paying the bank directly or using the split disbursement if that's an option in your agency. The Tax Advantage card functions as a CBA and IBA, but it's just all in one card. GSA is working with the hotel and rental car community to strengthen their knowledge of the Tax Advantage card so that we can pave the way for this exemption process to be much smoother. This does continue to be a work in progress. And there are actually some agencies that have been trying out the tax advantage card since the inception of SmartPay 3. But a lot remains to be seen as to how it's working and what if any improvements can be made. So if your agency is using the tax advantage card and you would like to share your experiences with the card, we would love to hear how it's working for you. And you can reach out to us by email, and I will give you that information after the rest of the presentation. Now let's talk a little bit about virtual cards. Virtual cards are not new, but they are newer to GSA SmartPay users. GSA has been working with a couple agencies and the GSA e-travel team, the banks and brands, to bring the virtual cards to life. Visa has entered into an agreement with a company called Confirma so that they can kind of jazz up the virtual cards and integrate them with the whole travel booking process. The idea behind the virtual cards is that there will be a unique account number for every purchase tied back to an overarching number. There are many controls that can be used to assure that fraud and misuse are strongly discouraged. These cards are also enriched with centralized data and automated reconciliation features. It also helps with tracking your charges, since all of the accounts for individuals route back to the main office account. It also allows you to assign different card numbers to different departments within your organization. The individual number allows the departments to make authorized purchases for your company, but the numbers themselves are not usable by either internal or external thieves. Next, we're going to move on to some of the roles and responsibilities for managing your agency travel card program. Now we're going to talk about agency roles and responsibilities. Your agency must have at least one agency organizational program coordinator, or AOPC. Often there are many of these individuals in a hierarchy, with the level 1 AOPCs being at the highest department level. But DoD has their level 2s at the department level. There are also card account holders and billing offices that are a part of the roles and responsibilities for managing your program. And each of these have their own set of responsibilities. As an AOPC, we consider AOPCs to be the gatekeepers for GSA SmartPay program with each agency. Some may say that they are most importantly the stewards in the agency. As an AOPC, you are responsible for managing your cardholders, travel programs, and promoting proper use of the accounts. You also need to understand how to use the available reports and tools to ensure your travel accounts are being used correctly. AOPCs are also the first line of defense for spotting fraud, waste, and abuse in the program. As part of your role, you may also be involved in resolving travel account issues or working with account holders to manage disputes. In some agencies, AOPCs also work to develop agency-specific account policies and procedures. Training is important for program coordinators to help them understand their roles and responsibilities in the GSA SmartPay program. And GSA just encourages you to learn about your agency's or organization's specific program requirements and policies. Additionally, your issuing bank provides an electronic access system, or an EAS, and a program coordinator's guidebook to help you manage those programs. Approving officials are usually the supervisor to the account holder. They don't always have to be, but we find that they normally are. And the term AO, or approving official, may not be used in your agency under your travel program. But if you are reviewing or approving vouchers and looking at charges placed on the account, on your travel card accounts, you are filling the role of an approving official. And the approving official is responsible for ensuring that all purchases made by the account holders within his or her span of controls are appropriate and the charges are accurate. Purchase should not only be legal and proper, but also should be considered mission essential. Approving officials are essential because they can spot fraud, waste, and abuse while reviewing a travel voucher. And if you are an approving official, don't be afraid to ask questions from the traveler. If you don't understand something that they have on there, or the costs aren't adding up, and you just don't have enough documentation, it's okay to ask for a little more information before you approve that voucher. Cardholder roles and responsibilities. And I realize that this forum, it's not designed for cardholders, but many of us that are program managers or AOPCs, approving officials, or billing officials, but we're also travel card holders. So if you are a travel card holder, you are responsible for securing your travel card and only using it for official government travel and local travel if your agency policy allows for that. You also need to report any lost or stolen cards to the bank and your AOPC. Card holders or account holders must also submit a travel voucher to be reimbursed by the agency for authorized purchases. You must pay your travel card statement in full by the due date, as GSA charge cards are non-revolving accounts, meaning that you can't carry over a balance on them. And that is why we say this is a GSA SmartPay program, is the government charge card program, because no credit is being extended to account holders. And as an account holder, you must take initial and refresher training as required by OMB Circular A123, Appendix B, or your agency's specific policy. A few more things with card holders that we'll talk about. Account holders must never use the GSA SmartPay card for personal use. If your agency allows you to use your SmartPay card for ATM use for cash advances, you may use them. However, the use of the card is encouraged because over the cash advantages, because your agency earns refunds back based on the spend volume. So cash advances do not produce a refund to your agency. So we strongly encourage the use of the card for any of your travel expenses. And again, you must pay your travel card statement in full by the due date of that statement. Unpaid amounts will fall delinquent and could result in your account being suspended or canceled. This is just another place where it's very important to file your vouchers on time, so that if you're using split disbursement or you're getting a reimbursed amount, you will have that money when it's time to pay your bill on time. And just another thing, never write your PIN number on the actual GSA SmartPay charge card. I think most of us know not to do that, but it's just a reminder. Now we're going to talk about some of the bank roles and responsibilities. So the contractor banks are responsible for issuing government charge cards in accordance with the GSA SmartPay 3 master contract and your specific task order requirements. So the banks must be the merchants for the charge card transactions. They must provide monthly billing statements. The banks provide AOPCs and approving officials with the ability to review monthly statements, payment history, and other account information. The banks also provide this information via electronic access systems or your EAS and reporting capabilities. The banks are also here to assist with audit investigations. So if you ever run into an issue where the banks are not cooperating, please don't hesitate to contact me or anyone at SmartPay team to ask for help, and we will be more than happy to assist. Let's move on to some best practices on managing your travel card program. Sharing ideas amongst other AOPCs and other agencies is a great way to get some new ideas that you might be able to use in your program. We do have AOPC meetings, and there's also a monthly discussions with Dave meeting, and those are good avenues to see what other agencies might be doing for the same issue or concern that you might have. Communication with your cardholders is key. The best AOPCs communicate early and often with their account holders. Sharing smart bulletins, newsletters, those are great tools for helping your cardholders keep up to date on any related information. We also know that some agencies have frequently asked questions on their website, or they hold meetings with their cardholders. We've also seen where agencies do orientation sessions or training on how to fill out a proper travel claim or voucher. And those are good ways to help your cardholders so that they aren't responsible for the entire amount of their trip if they haven't filed a proper voucher. But whatever avenue you choose to use, it's just important for you and your cardholders to know where they can get information and who to contact when they do have questions. So if you can find all kinds of other avenues or examples by visiting our website. Opportunities for increased savings. This is a great opportunity to take a look at your program and look to see where you might have some additional opportunities for increased savings. You can also reach out to the banks and get ideas from them and take a look at or subscribe to their newsletters from Visa and MasterCard to see what's actually just going on in industry. Being aware of some of the trends can help you find new and innovative ways of using the card or even using cardless accounts. You can do this by ensuring that the cardholders are using the card anytime they travel. Not only is it required, but it can also help your agency to increase refunds, which can go directly back to meet some of your mission needs. Now we're going to talk a little bit about tax exemption. GSA does maintain a map or a list of states and their tax exemption statuses. We frequently reach out to the states to confirm their status is correct. While the supremacy clause in the U.S. Constitution does not allow the states to levy taxes upon the federal government, there are a lot of states that have found a loophole. So most states consider the IBA card to be used by an individual and not directly by the federal government. Therefore, it's subject to taxes. The tax advantage card is meant to alleviate this. However, it is still a fairly new product, and we are still learning as to how effective it will be. Tax exemption is important, but it's also not worth a confrontation with a front desk clerk at a hotel. If the hotel doesn't accept the tax exemption, you'll just have to accept it. And it's just a good idea to make a note of it and don't plan to stay there for any future trips if possible. Our team does work with the hotel community to share information about the program, but it's not foolproof and doesn't always get filtered down correctly. While we do try to educate the hotel community on tax exemption and what forms, if any, are required, it doesn't always get down to the actual front desk staff. So taxes can be tricky, and each state has a different policy or procedure and their willingness to work with us. The next slide is talking about mitigating abuse and misuse. One thing that can be helpful is training and more training. Ensure that proper training is implemented and that your cardholders and any AOPCs below you are taking the training and refresher training. It's really hard to argue with a training certificate if your cardholder misuses the card. It's also important to emphasize proper use of the card and ethics. So this is a good time, occasionally to have those monthly meetings or quarterly meetings with your cardholders just to keep them updated. Consequences for misuse should be clearly stated in your agency policy. You shouldn't be afraid of a salary offset too if you do run into somebody that did have misuse. Attachment 6 of the updated OMB Circular A123 Appendix B is a great place to look for definitions of misuse, abuse, and fraud, and it also has some possible consequences. You will also need to work with your HR departments when it comes to some of these consequences. But be sure to monitor your card activity and lower the limits of some cards that are not used frequently, or you can also deactivate them. Just be sure to manage any delinquency and let your card holders know that you're out there watching. This slide goes into greater detail about training requirements. Some additional information can be found in OMB A123 Appendix B. And AOPCs, cardholders, approving officials, they're all required to take training prior to their appointment or receiving a card. There are also requirements for refresher training found in the circular. Cardholders can take the online training via the GSA SmartPay website, but this forum is a great place for AOPCs and approving officials to get training on managing your program. And some of the agencies do have their own specific training requirements, so you need to make sure you check those also. This is a snapshot of the GSA SmartPay online training site. And the Center for Charge Card Management offers free online training for AOPCs and AOs and the cardholders. You'll need to register on the site to take the training. It sometimes will allow you to go take the training, but you will not be able to take the quiz unless you have an account set up already. Level 1 AOPCs can also run reports on cardholders to make sure everyone is up to date with their training requirements. Now we'll go over a few of the available report resources. There's a lot more than what I'm going to go over, so you can probably attend one of the bank sessions during the forum, and they'll be able to talk about more of the available reports. But there are some bank reports that are beneficial for AOPCs to help manage your program. There's an account activity report, and this report consists of summary totals for a reporting period by fiscal year, by card, and agency organization. And this report is generally used at all levels to obtain and manipulate program data. Next, there is a declined authorization report. And this report shows where cardholders have attempted to use their card, but the card was declined. It could have been for something that they are not authorized to purchase, something that exceeds their single purchase limit or their monthly purchase limit, or it could just be that the merchant is blocked by the MCC code. The next one is pre-suspension or pre-cancellation report. These reports are important and list travel accounts that are eligible for suspension or cancellation as defined in the master contract. It identifies the account name, the account number, the status, whether it's going to be suspended or canceled, the date of the status, the balance past due and the number of days past due, and any interest penalties. This report can be used for delinquency control. And as an AOPC, you could actually reach out to the cardholder so they can address the issue so that their account is not suspended or canceled. The next one is the transaction dispute report, and this report lists all outstanding and resolved transaction disputes. And it also includes all the information necessary to identify, track, balance, and obtain status on the dispute from the original charge and all the way through resolution. There's a renewal report. This is a good report, and it lists the accounts that are due to expire, and it identifies the account name, account number, the expiration date, and any other information required to determine the renewal status. And this is a good report to be used by the AOPC to flag expiring reports and help the cardholders if they don't really want their cards to be expiring, or if they need to submit a new application. These are just a few of the reports available to you. And if you don't see a report that works for you, you can also ask for an ad hoc report, just in case you need to see different data elements for your reporting. You will just need to reach out to your issuing bank for help with that. And again, there are a lot of bank sessions during the forum this year, so you will be able to reach out to any of them, and they will be able to help you if you have more details about what you need in your report. Account deactivation is important when managing your travel card program. You may want to consider deactivating accounts that are not used often and reactivate them when the individual needs to travel. And some of these suggestions are easier for smaller agencies than larger agencies, and it's really dependent on the amount of card accounts that you manage. You can also consider closing accounts that are not used, and AOPCs must close the accounts of individuals that leave the agency. I do have some contact information to share with you. The next few slides have some agency and bank contact information for you. These slides, along with the presentation, will be available on the forum website after the forum. This slide is the GSA SmartPay contact information and our social media sites. If you need to contact us or need additional information about the program or adding or additional training materials on how to manage your program, the best way to probably contact us is by email. And we usually respond very, very quickly. So we'll either email you back, or if we feel the need that we need to actually pick up the phone and call you, we will do that too. Next, here are some bank contact information, which most of you probably already have this information, but these are the main contact numbers for customer service. And audience questions. If we were in person, we would take the time to answer some of your questions, but in this virtual format, I've tried to keep up with them in the chat, but if we don't get to your question here, please do not hesitate to send us an email and we will be happy to help. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation and it has given you some information to help manage your travel card programs. Just a few final thoughts. Try to familiarize yourself with the OMB A123 Appendix B and your agency travel policies. You're going to find valuable information in those policies. And remember to use all of the bank resources that you have available to you to help manage your program. Again, we will be sharing the slides and presentations on the SmartPay website after the forum. And I would like to thank you for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your forum.